Just want to remind you guys, this episode is presented by Prize Picks. Download the app today. Use the code JUICE to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup.
What is going on, Colts Nation? Welcome back to another episode of Bring the Juice. Guys, the Indianapolis Colts season is now officially over. No chance of making the playoffs after losing to the New York Giants by a final score of 45-33. A game in which the Giants had not scored that many points since the last time they played the Colts back in 2022, where a lot of things were different and a lot of things feel the same. And the Indianapolis Colts, off of another bad defensive performance, have now officially been kicked out of the playoff contention. Cody, what's your initial thoughts after seeing that the Colts have been eliminated from the playoffs for the fourth straight year?
Derek, it feels like there's so much to say, but also so much that you just throw up your hands and you got to laugh. And the sad thing about this, Derek, is the joke is on all of us that we bought this for so many years. We bought that this was the future of the organization. We bought that this organization was moving forward. And here we are, like you said, fourth straight year, same result, no playoffs. Same result, collapsing in the moments. Same result, losing to bottom feeder teams when you have to have it. I mean, that, Derek, this game today, I would argue, is one of the top four, if not, I don't think it's number one because there's a couple worse ones, but it's definitely, in my mind, probably one of the top four worst losses in recent memory for the Colts, considering what you had at stake here. And I know for some people they said the season was over when you lost to Denver, but there still was a chance, right? You not only lost to the New York Giants, who, by the way, were fighting for the number one overall pick, but you did so in embarrassing fashion. You allowed the New York Giants, who I think before this game scored, 8 total touchdowns the entire season at home? Something like that?
Yeah.
You allowed them in this game, Derek, to score
It was 6
points. 6 touchdowns in the game. That is unbelievable. And I could go yell and scream and all that stuff, but Derek, I just think at this point, it's like I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. This is what this organization has been under Chris Ballard. Continual mediocrity, continuing to fold when the pressure's on, and just continuing to not rise to the occasion when they need to. And it's mediocre because its front office is mediocre. From the top, it's mediocre. I mean, there's so much you can say about this and the failure of the Colts and the failure of the players, but at the end of the day, Derek, the top 4 losses in recent memory, if you're thinking back to some of them, every single common denominator is Chris Ballard. You've had different coaches, you've had different quarterbacks, you've had different coordinators. It's Chris Ballard. Same crap, different day. Same result. Every single time. I just don't even know what to say, but Derek, somebody's got to get fired today.
Somebody.
It's that bad. I mean, this isn't just like a team. It's not even like the Denver game, where, okay, it's actually a good team you're playing. No, this is the worst team in football. It's been the worst team in football all year. And not only did you let them beat you, you let them beat you down.
Yep.
Your defense was beaten down in this game.
Yep.
It wasn't even close. I mean, Derek, this rivals that 2021 Jacksonville game with how embarrassing it was.
Yeah.
I mean, it so was that bad. It was
what a lot
really
of people are going to say. Yep. The 2022 end of the season. Yep.
Yeah. Going into 2022, you just had to win one of those games. You lost them both, and you get clowned in that Jacksonville game. And it's just the same thing again and again. And I just don't know how you try to sell the fans anything with how could the current regime is, the current situation is. I don't know how you try to justify and sell the fans on anything with this current regime. I just don't know how you do it, because fans are checked out. Derek, as I was kind of paroling a little bit of social media, because I was just curious a little bit. I don't really get on social media as much anymore, but I just was looking, and I don't think I've ever seen from the people on social media, the people that are texting me that are usually pretty even keeled, like people who are all saying this is inexcusable and people should get fired. Like, yeah, we can have a tendency to overreact sometimes. That's kind of the nature of it as fans. But when you have media people saying it, and when you have like people that do this for a living and aren't biased and don't have an emotional attachment to the team, I mean, that's saying something right there. That we can overreact because that's what we do. That's part of it.
We're fans.
We're fans, yeah. But when you have media saying it, and not just a couple, like all the media saying it, I just don't even know how you can move forward with really anybody currently employed with the Indianapolis Colts from a top-down standpoint. Because, I mean, Derek, a lot of people were for the, tear it down, part of it down, but I think more people are, after this game especially, are on the train of tear it all down. Hard rebuild, I don't care what it takes, because this is like the worst place you can be, where you're not bad enough for a good draft pick, but you're not good enough to do anything. You're not good enough to make the playoffs. You've missed it 4 straight times, but you're not going to be in the top 5. So it's just kind of this weird situation. So there's so much to say here, but I think, frankly, people are fed up, and rightfully so. And I just don't see how certain people, you can keep them around and sell that to the fans.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's the same result all the time. It doesn't matter what we do. It doesn't matter how patient we're getting. It just feels like the Colts are not in a position to where they're getting better. And Cody, we said at the beginning of the year, there is a legitimate chance that this Indianapolis Colts team does not make the playoffs. There's a legitimate chance that they don't. It all depended upon Anthony Richardson and how it went down. But the problem is, Cody, is it hasn't just been Anthony Richardson that's been the problem. It feels like right now there's almost nothing that this team does well. Like, it almost feels like there just is no avenue out of what it is that you're dealing with. Because, yes, the quarterback play has been atrocious this year, both from Flacco and from Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson has had a few games where he's looked good, but he's had overwhelming games where he's looked bad. Joe Flacco, even in this game against the Giants, played very well. I mean, yes, had obviously the one interception that he threw early in the game. It didn't kill you. You still scored the next time after. You still took the lead. And then, yes, when the game was finally over with, then Joe Flacco had 2 turnovers in that final moments where the game was out of reach already. It is what it is. But from that moment, the first interception, to when the game was practically over, Joe Flacco played an amazing game. But guess what happened? The other side of the unit decided they weren't going to show up. They weren't going to play. This team has been incapable of playing complementary football all season long. And a lot of that is because of coaching, and a lot of that is the players that you have here. A lot of players that don't show up, don't take on the responsibility, don't take accountability, and aren't good enough to play Colts football. Kevin Bowen just tweeted this. So, Colts defense in 2024. Joe Mixon gave up the most yards for him in 3 years. Josh Jacobs, you gave up the most yardage that he's seen in over 2 years. You gave up a career high to Trevor Lawrence this year. You gave up a career day to Drake May. You were lucky enough to win that one off of Anthony Richardson's back. You gave up the most points of the season to the Jets. You gave up the most points to the Giants, who haven't scored that many points. I don't think they've scored that many points in years. Years, Cody, since they've had Daniel Jones. And Drew Lock had a career day. And that's not even half of it. I'm sure there's more. I'm sure there's more of it. And the defense, the defense was a bottom 5 unit in almost every metric this year. You're right. Somebody needs to be fired today. And the obvious answer is clearly Gus Bradley. You need to fire him. You need to fire him. He has not done the job that you've needed from him to get this defense playing at a good level. Because, Cody, it pisses me off that when we play elite competition, the defense shows up. But when the defense doesn't play elite competition, we continue to play the worst defense I have ever seen. It is not supposed to be like that. You were supposed to play great defense against terrible competition, terrible offenses, and play bad against really good offenses. That's how it's supposed to be. But it shows inept as a defensive coordinator that you can somehow find a way to beat guys who are really good but play terribly against terrible competition. It makes no sense. And it also is part on Chris Ballard too, because again, this was the defensive unit that, Cody, you and I said this whole offseason, and what a lot of Colts fans said too. We're worried about this secondary. We're worried about their ability to actually play sound defense. And we're worried about the pass rush. And we didn't even worry about the linebackers coming into this year, Cody. But it's clearly obvious that EJ Speed and Zaire Franklin are not cutting it, at least from a schematic standpoint. So, it's this defense let you down in the worst way possible today. You allowed a Giants team that was averaging 14 points a game this year to score 45 on you. 45. I can't even get mad at the offense today because, again, you scored 33 points. That should 99 out of 100 times get you a win over the New York Giants. But it didn't. And here we are sitting here, and we're going to have to listen to Steichen and Bradley and Ballard try to defend it as if some way, shape, or form it's not their fault, or as if there's something they can do to improve it. I'm tired of the bullshit. It's time to move on.
Yeah, I think you put it perfectly. Drew Lock, 17 of 23, 309 yards, 4 touchdowns, 155.
Oh, yeah, and he had a rushing touchdown too, by the way.
Rushing touchdown. You got that. Thank you for that. So, I mean, it looked like my grandma trying to run it in, Derek, but that's how bad the Colts defense is. I don't think they could cover you or me. I mean, it's that bad, Derek. And this defense is all bark and no bite. I mean, you have your guys go on the podcast. They can't make a simple tackle. Your guys that you reinvested in, right? The guys that you paid, the guys that are your captains, they have routinely let you down this year. This defense is an absolute joke. The leaders on this defense are an absolute joke. This team is an absolute joke. Gus Bradley's an absolute joke. Chris Ballard's an absolute joke. Should I continue on?
You can keep going if you want to.
Derek, how many games this year? I know at least 2 games this year. There's probably more. That your offense put you in positions to win, and your defense just couldn't stop anybody. Or it would flip-flop. Your defense would give you positions to win, and your offense couldn't do anything. And that, Derek, to me, is the sign of a very poorly coached football team. I've seen it for years, and I'll say it again. This Colts team is very poorly coached. They are, because nothing else could explain how this team has literally not done anything well consistently this entire season.
Yep.
They'll have spurts where the offense looks great. Then they'll have spurts where the defense looks great. And then they'll have spurts where they both look terrible. And to me, that's a sign of a badly coached football team, Derek. And that's what the Colts are. They're a badly coached football team, a very flawed roster. And there's no accountability with this team. This team has preached that for years. Nothing has changed. It's the culture. Kenny Moore's called it out multiple times, Derek.
Yep.
There's a culture issue with this team. It starts at the top, and there needs to be wholesale changes. Or, Derek, frankly, if you try to roll this and sell it to the fans, you're going to have no fans next year. Like, legitimately, you thought this year was bad in terms of opposing fan bases coming to your stadium. It's going to be 10 times worse next year. Fans are checked out. Like, I have never seen so many people checked out of this team in my time covering this team. I've never seen this. That's the point we're at, Derek. It's like you almost feel like there is no hope for the future, and it's just such a bad spot to be in as a fan when you just don't feel any ounce of optimism. No ounce of optimism with this team, how it currently is run. So there needs to be wholesale changes, and it's got to start at the top, Derek. I think at the bare minimum, you cannot sell the fans on another year of Gus Bradley or Chris Ballard. At the minimum, you can't do that. You can't do it because fans are not going to show up. Like some will, obviously. Fans will always show up, but you're going to be losing a lot of interest. I mean, a lot of interest. I mean, Derek, there's a lot of fans that have been checked out since that Denver game. Honestly, that's to the point where you are. And I'm just sick and tired. My brother actually said this. I want to shout him out. He's like, I'm sick and tired of having to rely on other people to help the Colts potentially get to the playoffs. It's been about every year with this team. You need other teams to help you. And then when they do, you can't even take care of business. So it doesn't matter. That's the point we're at, Derek, right now with this organization. For the last 3 years, Derek, the Colts have had opportunities. I guess you can even throw 4 years. If you want to say 2021, 2022 was just a crap show in itself. 2023 and this year, Colts have had 3 out of 4 years opportunities, Derek, to turn their season around in the clutch moments. And every single time they fall on their face, they don't do it. And to me, that is because this culture is crap. Absolute crap. You cannot sell me on anything else you're trying to say about this organization. This team is honestly the most rudderless I have felt in a long time, Derek. And I don't get excited to watch Colts football anymore. And that pains me to say. And I know I'm not the only one. I want to like Colts football. I want to believe in the direction this team is going. But with Chris Ballard here, with Gus Bradley here, I can't. I just can't. Because I know it's going to be the same crap different day. We've seen it for almost a decade. What's to think, just give us one more year, right? Give us one more year and then it'll change. It hasn't. And it won't.
Hasn't. And it won't. You're right.
No. And so I'm sick and tired of having to wait and hope that things will get better, Derek. It's not going to happen. We all know that. So let's stop putting up with this crap and let's show, as fans, we are not going to deal with this. We are not going to support this. If this is going to continue to be how this team is going to be run and this organization is going to be run, we just can't support it.
Yep.
And I'm never going to not love this team, but they make it hard, man. They make it really hard.
It does make it hard. You want this team to be successful. You want this team to be successful, but we have not seen this team be successful under this current regime. And the current regime that we're talking about is Chris Ballard and the direction in which he and his staff have put this team together. The Colts haven't made the playoffs for 4 straight years. That's their longest drought in over 30 years. So it is time that you have to have the serious conversation. And I don't care if Jim Irsay is the owner or not for much longer, whether or not his daughters are going to do it or if he's going to sell it to somebody. I really don't care. But at the end of the day, you have to understand that what you have on this field right now is not working. It's not working. This has always been an organization that for the last 30 years, prior to the last few, has been widely respected, wildly renowned, and has always been a standout organization that has always done things the right way and has been viewed as a winning organization. And now nobody cares anymore about you. You are considered in the bottom. You are in the bottom quadrant of people time and time again. In 2022, you were a bottom 4 team. This year, you might still finish potentially as a bottom 11 team. This team needs to move forward. And I'm sure we're going to have a video on this here this week. So I don't want to keep talking about just overall what things are going to go on down the field. I just kind of want to talk mainly about this game. We'll go back to the defense here in a second here, Cody. Offensively, so we can sit here and say that there were some good performances here on the offense today.
Oh, yeah.
Joe Flacco, again, you want to look at the box score, look at the fact that he had 3 turnovers today. Again, 2 of those came from when the Indianapolis Colts were basically out of the game to begin with.
Yeah.
And then on top of it, that first turnover he had, it was the first drive of the game. It pinned the Giants deep in their own territory. The Giants went 3 and out. It is what it is. But Joe Flacco today, Cody, did have himself a pretty good game today. And it would have been a lot better had Shane Steichen not gotten in his own way a few times early in the game and had some guys actually caught a few passes as well. Then Joe Flacco would have had even better numbers.
Well, the 2024 NFL season for the Indianapolis Colts is in full swing. And with that, wanted to share the sponsor of today's video, Prize Picks.
When it comes to Prize Picks, this is going to be a great way for you guys, especially, to check out some of the stuff that Prize Picks has.
You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. You heard me right. Only 4 correct picks. You can win 100 times your money, guys, on Prize Picks. Be sure to sign up today and get $50 off instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed.
So if you're looking specifically for the Colts stuff, that's definitely something you guys should check out. But if you're looking for, like me, more NFL stuff, there's all sorts of stats and stuff that you can check out and make your picks. And there's definitely guys that are very consistent, like Jonathan Taylor against the Houston Texans, that you really feel like you can probably feel pretty good about overall, right? And there's some other ones where you're like, I don't know if I would take the over on that. I don't know if I would pick them to hit that margin, right? So, guys, be sure to go check out all that stuff on Prize Picks. It's only a couple examples. There's all the different odds that you could hope for when it comes to that for Prize Picks. So I encourage you guys to go check that out, but definitely excited for this season. And hopefully you guys will be following along with us and everything with Prize Picks and what they do.
So be sure to download the app today. Use the code JUICE to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, download the Prize Picks app today. Use the code JUICE to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Like I said, guys, it's a great way to continue to stay in with week to week life of the NFL, specifically with your favorite team, the Indianapolis Colts. So be sure to do that. Be sure to check out Prize Picks. And remember, Prize Picks, run your game.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, there was a couple, like you said, a couple drop passes. A.D. Mitchell, I don't know, man. I don't know how to feel about A.D. Mitchell. I mean, I'm kind of just getting sick of it, man. It's an every week thing with him. Although Flacco did miss him on a touchdown. He threw it a little high, but I just, it's hard, man. He's going to have to put a lot of work in the offseason because it's not been a good product this year. But the other receivers I thought did a pretty good job, all things considered. Pierce, I wish he would have caught that deep pass that was a PI. That would have put him well over 150, I believe. He did have 122 in this game. But yeah, I mean, the receivers in general, Derek, I felt like the guys, it was a rough start, it felt like. But, as the game went along, especially in that second half, it felt like the skill players, specifically looking at JT, looking at Pierce, looking at Pittman. And, I mean, Downs didn't do a lot, but he had a couple nice catches. I did feel like, as a whole, Derek, the offense was far from the issue today.
Yeah.
They started off a little slow, but they got things going. So the receivers played really well. JT, although he played well, had a couple issues today. His awareness this year, Derek, has been really bad. I mean, just some key awareness things that I don't know what's been the deal with him. Like, he can go off and rip a 50-yard run, but then he can just do something stupid, I don't know what it is, but whoever the next coach is, they really got to work on that stuff with him. The concentrated things that happen in the key moments, like that 2-point conversion, that kind of stuff, like that kind of dumb stuff. But overall, I mean, he's still a really good running back. He's back-to-back 100-yard games for JT. So, yeah, great job by him. 125 on the day and 2 TDs there. So, but yeah, I felt like overall, Derek, the offense played pretty well. I mean, all things considered. Like you said, if you score over 30, 99% of the time, you probably win. But, of course, Colts doing what they did today, you didn't. So, Yeah, I think you got to give the offense the props today. The last 2 weeks, really, the offense I think has looked good. And with AR and without AR, I think the offense has looked just fine. So, yeah, not too overly concerned there about the offense. And maybe, Derek, if you're looking at what the Colts need to do, that might be a little bit more of a reason to say, hey, maybe we give Shane another year. I know some people would be like, I don't care, just blow it all up, whatever. But that would be the argument, I suppose.
I am all for it's fine if he does stay. I mean, Steichen has had a lot of major issues this year. And we can continue to talk about it throughout the offseason, no doubt. But again, it's one of those where, I mean, he doesn't seem to have a firm grasp on it. And if we fire our GM and fire our DC, I don't really care whether or not, I mean, regardless of whether or not if Steichen likes Gus Bradley, then that's a more inclination that Steichen needs to be gone from the Colts too, because nobody should like what Gus Bradley is putting out there. At the end of the day, guys aren't doing their jobs, and it doesn't feel like Steichen really has a hold on it at all. But yeah, as far as the offense went today, my only issue was with the fact that on that 3rd and 8, when you were at the 40-yard line, instead of passing it, you decided to run a halfback draw on a 3rd and 8. And then after you gain the 5 yards, instead of trying to go for it, you went and kicked a 54-yard field goal with a kicker that you know this season has been atrocious at making anything beyond 45 yards. And you let him be in that spot anyway, and to surprise to no one, he missed it. So, I mean, that was the only thing I had a problem with, was Steichen's decision making with that. But it feels like we've seen a lot of that this year, Cody, where you just see a lot of these where you're just like, why in the world would you decide to do that there?
Yeah, right. But again, I mean, yeah, he had, that definitely was questionable. But Derek, I just can't fault the offense. I know that was a bad thing, but like overall, it's just, yeah, okay, sure. He'll have those every now and again. That happens. But again, you should expect your kicker to make a 50-yard field goal, at the same time. So, I mean, this was clearly on the defense. I don't put really any blame on the offense here. I mean, really any. The defense from the start was awful. I mean, every facet of the defense was awful. Special teams is awful. It's been awful for the last couple of years. Ever since Bubba Ventrone left, the special teams has been terrible. And 2 of your 3 phases are playing bad. You can't really do anything about that, Derek.
True that. And today, the defense, I mean, the worst part about it, Cody, and it's been a problem all year long, and we've been saying it all year long, but we were just kind of hoping that things would get better as time has gone along, but it hasn't, and it's been the tackling. Yes. And Zaire Franklin, several weeks ago, was asked about that. Like, why do you guys lead the NFL in missed tackles? And, he talked about how, I think it was even after the week 2 game against Green Bay, he said the tackling isn't as much about skill, it's more about a mindset. And okay, so awesome. So if you're telling me that it's not about the skill of you guys, it's about the mindset of you guys, then clearly all season you guys haven't been in the right mindset, which I blame a lot on the coaching and blame a lot on your captains for not instilling the right mindset in your players to be able to know how to tackle. The premise of every defensive player, know how to freaking tackle. And you can't even do that? Like, you can't even do that, dude. Like, this game was not about the Giants driving down the field, Cody. It was about big plays. A defense that strives itself on not giving up big plays And yeah, Cody, it's true that a lot of the big plays today for the New York Giants, it didn't come from throwing 50-yard bombs. But if you're telling me that, oh, we didn't give up the 50-yard pass, but you're okay with giving up the 10-yard pass that results in a 40-yard play because your guys can't tackle, then what's the point? What is the point of having a defense if you run the defense the way that you want to, but the defense can't even execute the one thing your defensive game plan revolves in them doing? They need to be able to tackle, and no one can tackle. Your safeties can't, your corners can't, your linebackers on occasion can't tackle either. So, like, what in the world are we doing? What is the point in having this scheme if it doesn't work, if guys just can't make routine tackles?
In the middle of the field is routinely wide open. I mean, we were like joking on stream, Derek. We're like, the way to attack the Colts is throw a screen pass, which the Giants did multiple times. Malik Neighbors had over 170 yards in this game, just probably based off of basically screen passes half the time. And they can't make a fundamental tackle. Derek, there was something fundamentally wrong with this defense. The culture of this defense is soft. It's all, like I said earlier, it's all bark and no bite. And it starts with the defensive coordinator and the captains. The Colts captains on defense, Derek, have been awful this year. It's probably the worst set of captains I've seen in a long time on the defensive side of the ball. Maybe outside of DeForest Buckner and occasionally Kenny Moore. It's been that bad. And pretty much every single captain today, Derek, was terrible on the defensive side of the ball. Every single one. I don't think there was a single one that played well today. And that's the culture that you're setting on defense. And I just don't even know what to say. It's like, if your captains aren't even making plays, what do you have then? What do you even have to say? I don't even know anymore. And these are guys that you're paying big money to, Derek.
Or you're thinking about paying this offseason.
Yes. Like, you just paid Kenny Moore. You just paid Zaire Franklin. Both guys that looked awful today and have routinely been burned. You just paid DeForest Buckner. He's getting up there in age. I love DeForest Buckner, by the way.
I love DeForest Buckner. He's one of the only few guys for me that has immunity on this team because he shows in and week out. But
he's getting older, and it's like, he probably wants to go win somewhere. He's not going to do it here.
But you're right. Grover Stewart got an extension this offseason. He hasn't improved the running ability. Zaire Franklin got an extension when he didn't need one. And Zaire, sure, he's the tackle leader this year, but he certainly has been far from a great product this year in a lot of different ways.
He's been below average.
EJ Speed, you're thinking about re-signing this year. I don't want him.
No.
Julian Blackman, you're thinking about re-signing. I don't want him. And Kenny Moore, you're right. He got an extension. Today, he was getting mossed by Malik Neighbors all game long. Like, come on, dude. What are we doing here? It's just, and like the national media is saying it too, dude. Like, the Colts just find ways to lose games when everything is on the line. They find a way to lose games when everything matters. And you got former Colts players saying, I'm embarrassed by what I just saw and witnessed. You have national media people saying that the Colts just find new ways to lose all the time. Like, that's not an organization that's doing things the right way. It's just terrible.
It's terrible, man. And I know I'll get some flack for this, but Derek, whenever Zaire Franklin said what he said a couple weeks ago about Pro Bowl, I'm like, that's your captain. That is a definition of what this locker room is on.
Hey, I care about my Pro Bowl votes.
I care about my tackles.
I'm tired of y'all talking about me. Like, shut up, dude. Like, nobody cares about you. We care about our team winning. I could care less if your name's Zaire Franklin or if it's anyone else. Put anyone else out there and win the football game. I could care less if your name is Zaire Franklin and you have 170 tackles on the year. I could care less about that. Seriously. All I care about is my team winning. And clearly you don't, because you care more about your Pro Bowl votes and people talking trash about you on Twitter than about actually getting your defense prepared to win a football game.
It's like 45 points, but vote for me for the Pro Bowl. Like, come on, dude. Like, that's not a captain. That's a selfish person. That's selfish, man. There's no I in team. Well, guess what, Zaire? There's no I in win either. We haven't done that in a while. How about you look inwardly? How about this whole team looks inwardly? Because I don't even know what to say anymore. I mean, they do this every year. I don't know what to say. The culture's shot. It's very obvious. This team's going nowhere. Everybody who has made decisions for this team, they all look like crap right now. Like, there's just nothing, like, positive right now for me, man. Like, I know the offense looked good today, but Derek, how many games have it looked like absolute crap this year?
Yeah.
You know? And same with the defense. The defense looked bad today. How many games have they not looked like that? It's just so infuriating because you see glimpses of good things. Like, I don't think this team is like the Ryan Grigson team where they had no talent. I don't think that's the case.
Yeah.
I just think the culture is shot, man.
Yep.
There is no accountability. There is no team chemistry. There is no leadership. And you have your captains out here thinking about themselves all the time and not thinking about the team. That's the problem.
And it's talent that doesn't perform either.
No.
Which is
they don't
so
show up.
strange. I just don't understand it.
But I think that's what happens when you have this poor culture, Derek, where the standard's not always held to where it needs to be held. I mean, that's what Pat was saying, man. He got a lot of flack for it, but I think he was right. He was right, man. That's what this team is. Unfortunately, that's the state of this team. And where it's currently going, Derek, I don't see a future that's bright. Now, things can change quickly. This is the NFL, after all. But right now, with the current regime, how it is, current players, how it is, this is going to be the result every year. I mean, frankly, it's going to be the result. You're not going to win.
Yep. I'm so frustrated, and we'll have more of these. And you get, again, too, just the fact that, you know, this was a Giants team that was this is a Giants team that had the number 1 overall pick coming into this game. They had lost 10 straight, Cody, going into this game. And we're like I said, averaging only 14 points a game. You were 9-point favorites. Cody, you were 9-point favorites by some people to start out the week. I think when the game started, the Colts were 7-point favorites. And you lost by 12. That's a 19-point differential. Cody, this is the remnants of 2022 all over again. And I don't know on how much this goes on Steichen. I really don't. But I do think it is time to move on. It is time to move on from the GM. It's time to move on from the defensive coordinator. And you know what? If the next GM decides that he doesn't want to deal with it anymore either with the head coach and just wants to start out clean, go right ahead. I don't care. Because it's just, it is gotten to a point where I'm sick and tired of being told we're right there when we're not. We're just not. And this GM has shown he will never change his ways to make it different. Even if it made the Colts worse, at least the Ballard could say, hey, I'm willing to at least try to make some more moves to see if this team gets better over time. But he's not. He's not. This team is okay with just the spot that it's in, and guys need to be cut. Guys need to be traded. Guys need to be left off the team. Guys need to be fired. There needs to be a change with the Indianapolis Colts because I'm sick and tired of barely staying at 500 and hoping to make the playoffs. I want to make it to where we're being like the Baltimore Ravens or the Buffalo Bills or the San Francisco 49ers or the Philadelphia Eagles and those teams that know they have the playoffs in the bag as long as they don't screw themselves.
Right. I mean, this is an organization, Derek. Chris Ballard, with this organization, Chris Ballard and this organization are the organization of what ifs, the organization of excuses, and the organization of mediocrity. And they're not going to change. We've said this for weeks now. They're not going to change. So you got to change them. You got to change something here because they're not going to change. They've shown it. Ballard should not be here. He should have not been here for the last couple of years. But you gave him another opportunity. With all that crap that happened, he still didn't change. So what's going to make you think another year is going to make him change? It's not. So it's time to cut bait. It's time to stop BSing the fans into trying to think we have any sort of chance. I think you put it beautifully. Stop telling us we're close when we clearly know we're not. We're not close. This is not a winning football team. This is a football team of overpaid, frankly, losers. Derek, I hate to say it. I don't want to call anybody a loser, but as a whole, this team is a bunch of overpaid losers. Mm-hmm. That's what they are. And until something drastic changes, it's going to be the same. So if you try to sell it and run it back again, fans are going to buy it this time. They're not. They're not going to buy it. I mean, I'm done, Derek. We've said it before. We're not going to spend another dime on this team until some major wholesale changes happen. Will we support this team? Of course we will. That's what we do. But when it comes to truly believing in the direction of this football team, I'm not there and won't be there till a lot changes. A lot happens. And a lot must happen. For the Jim Irsay, for the Colts organization, to keep Colts fans interested and optimistic about the future, everything has to change. Pretty much everything.
Pretty much. Well, with that loss to the New York Giants, guys, the Indianapolis Colts moved to 12th on the draft order.
Woo.
And now with the playoffs officially done and over with for the Indianapolis Colts, it's time to look off season. It's time to start thinking of a new direction for this team and what happens after that. But I will say this before we end it here. Colts fans, you're going to watch this at the very end. And whoever does watch this, I want you to understand me. The Colts PR team and the Colts executives, coaches, all this other stuff, they're going to try to go against you. They're going to try to find ways to make you think you are overreacting to how you're feeling about this team missing the playoffs for the 4th straight year and how this team continues to not be a relevant franchise. They're going to do everything they can to try to convince you that you're wrong and you need to stop feeling like this because we're that close. Do not give up. Do not let it go. Let them hear you. And guess what? If Colts fans don't show up on Sunday, Cody, that'll be another thing too. You might see a lot of empty seats in Lucas Oil Stadium on Sunday, knowing what we know now.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yep. There's no positives except you move up in the draft order. I mean, frankly, Derek. And yeah, fans are done. Fans are done. I'll just add this quote. He was just asked about 20 minutes ago or so, Shane Steichen, if he's worried about his job security. He said, I control what I can control. Oof.
I don't know, what did he say?
He said, I control what I can control. That's all he said.
Hey, I mean, does that not sound like someone that's saying exactly what we've been saying about how, Steichen is just the hand puppet to everything that's going on? Kind of rings a bell. So, again, we'll talk about that here later this week, and we're going to continue to talk about it through the offseason because that's clearly where the Colts are headed. But that's going to do it for this one, guys. Let us know your thoughts on the Colts failing to make the playoffs after losing to the New York Giants. That'll do it for this one. Thank you so much. And as always,